Hello and welcome to Press TV News Analysis. I'm Kaveh Taghvai. Since the beginning of the Arab uprisings, there were fears that these movements, fueled by people's aspirations for reforms, may be hijacked. Well, in Libya's case, it was evidently clear due to NATO's involvement. Two countries opposed from the onset have been Russia and China, who have just recently warned the West against interference in the Arab Spring. But will the West listen? And more importantly, what can they do?
The developing situation in the Middle East and North Africa topped the agenda of the Chinese president's meeting with his Russian counterpart in Moscow. The two leaders have so far only been vocal opponents of the West's approach toward the popular uprisings in the region. In a joint declaration, Dmitry Medvedev and Hu Jintao said outside forces should not interfere in internal processes of the countries of the region. They urged the West to let change take place through legal and political procedure in the Middle East and North Africa. China and Russia have repeatedly denounced NATO's military campaign in Libya. They have called for an immediate ceasefire and expressed concern over civilian casualties in areas controlled by the Libyan ruler Muammar Gaddafi. Russia and China, along with Brazil, India and South Africa, abstained from the UN Security Council's vote that approved the launch of a no-fly zone over Libya to protect civilian lives 3 months ago. However, the US and NATO went well beyond their mandate, reportedly causing hundreds of civilian deaths. Weeks into the conflict, Gaddafi's war machine is functioning and the situation remains dire for the people living there. Russia and China believe the US and its allies are treating the uprisings in other countries in the region differently. In Bahrain, where the US Fifth Fleet is located, a brutal crackdown has been going on against peaceful protesters for months now. Many have been killed on the streets, others have died under torture, with hundreds detained awaiting military trials. The US has not addressed the situation in the Persian Gulf Sheikhdom and has even encouraged Saudi Arabia's forces to unleash and continue their deadly crackdown on peaceful protesters.
We continue to receive reports about some students being expelled from universities, some workers being dismissed merely because they've exercised their political rights. We remain concerned about the continued detention of a number of Bahrainis who have neither been charged nor tried, about the treatment of those people in detention, about reports that some have been subjected to physical abuse during interrogations.
In Yemen, it's the Persian Gulf Cooperation Council that is trying to broker a deal to either keep Ali Abdullah Saleh in power or transfer the government to a confidant of the US and its allies. Syria, which is not a US ally, however, seems to present a different case for the West. Calls for taking Syria's case to the UN Security Council have been loud and frequent, and some sanctions are already in force against Damascus.
The US and its allies will do anything they can to prevent authentic democracy in the Arab world. The reason is very simple. Across the region, an overwhelming majority of the population regards the United States as the main threat to their interests.
We're going to try to get a reaction there of Noam Chomsky's statements. Let me introduce our guest. First, Middle East affairs expert Christopher Walker joins us from London. We have former assistant professor at the University of Bahrain, Colin Cavell, who joins us from Seattle, and from the International Action Center, Sara Flounders, who joins us from New York. I want to thank all my guests. Let me go first to Christopher Walker. Christopher Walker, let's start off first. Get a reaction from you. Russia and China's warning to the West from their presidents in a declaration opposing outside interference in the unrest in the Arab world. Isn't it a bit too late?
Well, it is in a way when you think how many months this has been going on. It's a stronger expression of a feeling that both Russia and China have voiced more sotto voce in the past, and in fact it was probably due to their intervention that 1973 the UN resolution on Libya was phrased as it was and contained ambiguity. Their unhappiness has been growing, but on the other hand, rather in the same way as the United States on the other side of the coin they can't perhaps see exactly what to do. So I very much doubt that this statement, joint statement, important as it is, will have a great effect in Washington or indeed in the other Western capitals, because very much really it's Russia and China voicing their own quite distinct opposition to the sort of intervention that's coming from the other side, but without any great suggestion on a different type of initiative apart from letting things take their course.
Right, and of course it depends when the United States and its partners are going to need Russia and China and other cases coming up perhaps in the future. But Sara Flounders, I mean, after the revolutions in Tunisia and Egypt, and these revolutions are still not free from interference coming from the West, there's been this U.S., Saudi, Israel counter-revolution, and that's been going on based on some accounts since February. I mean, in terms of China and Russia, can they do anything to stop that?
Well, beyond issuing statements, it doesn't seem that they are willing to do anything else. And every bomb that falls in Libya, every drone attack in Yemen is foreign, outside interference of old-style colonialism and war. And it is an outrageous crime. It really is, it has to be condemned in the strongest terms, of course within the UN Security Council, by the people of the world, because at this point it is just open season on any country attempting an independent course. And countries that were in a position, which certainly Russia and China were, to withhold support. We could only wish they had done that several months ago. But it really is, in every sense, an attempt to stop the democratic movement that has exploded throughout the region, and to do so with bombs in Libya, to do so with every form of subversion in Syria, to do so with drone attacks in Yemen, to do so with Saudi troops in Bahrain, in country after country. And also we should know that they are doing the same thing in Egypt and Tunisia with IMF, with bank loans, with quiet threats of economic strangulation if these new emerging forces don't comply with